Hi, everybody. Welcome to Be Like Christ. Welcome back to our study in the book of Proverbs. We are in chapter 18 today. We've got our PDF in front of us on the screen, which you can download on our website at tobelikechrist.com for free. I hope everybody has been enjoying our Proverbs study. I hope you're getting wiser and wiser every day and that you're actually taking some of these Proverbs that we're looking at and trying to apply them as you're going about your life. I know I've run across several that in my particular stage of life seem like they are very, very relevant, and so I'm trying to keep them in mind. And I'm sure that there's some there for every season of life. Proverbs is a good book, and it doesn't take you a long time to read, but if you actually sit and think and meditate and try to draw applications from every individual proverb, it might take you as long to get through as the book of Psalms. But let's go ahead and jump into our study today. Our outline of the book is the first thing that we always cover. We're in our second section. Being in chapter 18, we are in section number 2, chapters 10 through 29, which are the Proverbs of Solomon. So we're making good progress through that section and just about halfway through that section now. Let's look at some words in this chapter that we need to define. The first one is contempt. This is in verse 3. Contempt is considering someone or something of no value and not worthy of attention. Number 2, haughty, verse 12, arrogantly proud, or considering yourself superior. And then casting lots, it shows up in verse 18. It talks about the lot. Casting lots was a way of making a random selection, similar to how we might roll dice or draw straws, but nobody knows exactly how the process worked or the instruments that were used, but we do know that God often affected the outcome. Our third section is our interpretive principle, which I would encourage you to review if you haven't seen it in some of our previous studies. Let's go down here to our little meditating man. What's he meditating on today? He is meditating on a proverb from chapter 18. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. I put that one there because, in our culture, a lot of people are pushing off marriage or not getting married at all because there's fear surrounding marriage, or people talk about the bad parts of marriage. And so people are like, well, if marriage is that hard, I'm not going to get married. But Solomon says here that a wife is a good thing and a blessing from the Lord. And certainly we see that in the creation story. That is, of course, especially true if you marry a woman of wisdom. Let's go over now to our selected Proverbs. Once again, we have 3 today. The first one comes from verse 1. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. This one hits me particularly hard for application and conviction. A person who isolates himself from others is not a wise man. As we've seen in other Proverbs, wise friends are a real blessing, and they can steer a man in the right way, help him, keep him from walking off on the wrong path. An isolated man seeks his own desires, as the proverb says, because he's unwilling to make the sacrifices that are necessary to live in community. He wants to spend all his time his way. His lifestyle is contrary to sound advice. There's probably no clearer indication that God wants us to live in community than his plan to create the church. God's people are meant to spend time together, to support each other, to help each other through trials, and to encourage each other. So our goal should not be to isolate ourselves, but rather to find a constructive and wise community to be a part of. Proverb number 2 comes from verse 2. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. A foolish person doesn't listen to others to understand their point of view or the information that they're sharing. They don't learn from other people. They only talk at other people. A fool thinks he has nothing to learn and everything to teach, so he loves to hear the sound of his own voice. He gets no pleasure at all from learning new things or expanding his mind. To a fool, expressing his simple thoughts to others is more important than deepening those thoughts by trying to understand the valuable perspectives and information that others can share with him. Keep this in mind for application if you're a person who loves to talk. Ask yourself, am I taking time to process what other people are saying, or am I too anxious to express myself to really think about it? Proverb number 3 comes from verse 17, and I think this is especially one to keep in mind in the age of social media, in the age of politics that are online and in our face all the time, in our friend group, of course, but also especially in biblical interpretation. There's a lot of people who will present interpretations of the Bible, and this is a very key proverb to keep in mind when thinking about whether or not we should believe everything we hear. The one who states his case first seems right until the other comes and examines him. A person can make almost anything sound compelling if no one is present to fact check them. A person can make their case sound convincing when they are the only source of information. They get to frame all the facts the way they want to and exclude all the information that doesn't seem to support their narrative or their story. That works as long as no one is there to critique them. But if they aren't telling the truth, their deception will be exposed when their narrative is critiqued by someone who's familiar with the facts. We kind of echo this proverb in the modern day with the words, "There are always two sides to every story." Right? You don't believe the first thing that you hear all the time. It may not be exactly accurate. A wise man is careful not to draw a conclusion when he's only heard one side of a story. He does not judge or speak on the matter until he has had time to gather information and to hear multiple perspectives and to think through the facts for himself. So that'll do it for our study in Proverbs chapter 18 today. We'll study 19 tomorrow, Lord willing. In the meantime, you can go search out other people's perspectives because you don't necessarily want to take all my interpretation at face value, do you? We've just learned that. So definitely take some time to first, think over these facts or these verses by yourself. Hopefully you've already done that. And then maybe go look at some other perspectives and you can evaluate whether or not I presented these verses accurately or not. I hope that you do that every day. And I do appreciate the people who leave comments and sometimes corrections on my videos, correcting some of the stuff that I've gotten wrong. I certainly don't do that intentionally, and I hope that there aren't any bad motives behind that. But everybody botches some stuff from time to time, and so definitely check what we've studied today and make sure it's true. Until tomorrow, I hope everyone has a fantastic day.